Tyvis, while we have you here, we'd be remiss not to talk Ohio State. And Jay talked about spending. Well, Ohio State certainly did that in troves this offseason. Their portal class is tops in the country. Bull put it on Twitter. I think it's accurate. They have spent more than the Cleveland Guardians have this offseason.
Yep.
What did I say?
You said it in troves.
Yeah, troves.
Yeah.
Oh, what was I supposed to say?
Just off one letter.
Droves.
Troves?
But that's okay. We love you for that, Mike.
Troves.
And
I looked at each
I
other.
wasn't going to say anything, but now it's so funny now when this happens. I immediately make eye contact with Bull, and as soon as he sees I'm looking at him, Bull goes, and I lose it.
I got to look up what. Okay, well, whatever.
Go ahead.
Don't
Drove
change,
with
Mike.
the
We
D?
love you for it.
In droves.
It's droves.
In
No,
droves.
my bad.
That's okay.
I'm young. I'm young and innocent.
That's right.
I'm
Yeah.
young and innocent.
I don't know about innocent.
Yeah,
That's
you're young.
hilarious.
Tyvis, let's talk about the incoming portal class for the Buckeyes. How'd they pull it off, and how much pressure is on Ryan Day to get it done this
Well,
year?
first of all, Mike, you just got to stay in your lane. You got to use the words that you know.
You actually know.
But no, you know what?
Stay in your
My
lane.
son is very much like that. He was when he was younger. And I disagree with you.
Oh, you encourage him to.
Here's why. It shows confidence, which I love, but it's also he's never going to learn if someone doesn't say, Mikey, it's not troves, it's droves. And he'll never misuse that word again, so he just got better today.
That's right.
I got better. Did you get better today, Tyvis? Not yet.
You know what? I will tonight when this parlay hit. I will be a lot better. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. The Buckeyes. What was the question? Is it do or die in 2014?
Yeah, is this?
I mean,
is
they
this,
suspend-
is this
Listen, I think that for years it's been the SEC and the South has been all of these rumors about how they've always spent money to get these recruits. And up here at Ohio State, you felt like we still winning games and we didn't even have to do things like that. You know?
Well, in fairness,
Be quiet.
listen, I'm a Buckeye fan, but the full
quiet.
narrative is it was going on here, and we got caught. And we
Be
paid the
quiet.
price.
Shh. You can have the floor in a second. Like I said, in 2012 to 2015, I know for
There you
a
go.
fact that Tyvis Powell didn't receive not one payment from the Ohio State University. So, like I said, we have been successful without getting paid, no matter what Jay is about to say. And I think that this year, when you look at the moves that they've made, I think that Ryan Day learned from the Missouri coach. He said, I gave up play call and I became just the head coach, and my world just became so much better. I became a better head coach because of it. So I think Ryan Day took some of that knowledge and he's applied it with Bill O'Brien. Getting Bill O'Brien in here, a guy who's been an NFL head coach, who's been a college head coach, who's called plays, and he's coming in here to call plays, and you can bounce that off the wall with Ryan Day with the great play calls that he has. That means that offense should be better. You're getting guys to come back to Ohio State because they realized that in 2020 they was just in the national championship. But in 2020, a lot of those guys weren't on this roster. They were coming in the following year. Since they've been at Ohio State, the program has taken a dive. They haven't won a Big Ten championship. They haven't beat the team up north, and they were a field goal away from winning or going to a national championship. So they look at it like when you come to Ohio State, your job is to keep the program either at the top or make it better. And this class that's now going to be juniors or seniors this year have not done that, and they've taken pride in that. They decided to come back because they want to at least accomplish those things, and they can. And then he said, oh, by the way, let's make the roster better. Let's go get some guys in the transfer portal. For the first time, NIL has finally decided to play a big part. People have been donating. People have been going out to get these big-time recruits. They see that, and we raise money, we can have the right to get these guys. I say all that to say the roster is good enough. Yeah. They should win it all this year. If they don't win it all, they better at least beat the team up north, or Ryan Day is getting fired right in Columbus, Ohio, if he loses that game.
Julian Sayin, is he the starting quarterback?
No.
Definitely?
No.
There's going to be a battle for the starting quarterback.
Between him and who?
The Will Howard.
Which, by the way, I love.
Will Howard is the kid that got from Kansas State.
How much better
But he's the future. I think Howard's got 1 year, right?
Yeah, Howard's got 1 year.
So how much better are those guys than what they had? I mean, is it a big difference or?
Well, I mean, Will Howard is the guy who has experience. I mean, he was at Kansas State. He's the 6'5". He got the big arm. He got some mobility. So he kind of reminds you like a Josh Allen, a poor man's Josh Allen.
Okay.
That's kind of what he reminds you of.
Of Steve McNair.
Julian's saying literally just got out.
He's been on a college campus for 2 weeks. He's
Okay,
an early
like,
enrollee
what kind
at
of player is
Alabama.
He was the number one quarterback.
He's the guy.
Oh, well, what's his style?
Both. He can do it all.
Yeah.
He can throw.
But they also got Aaron Nolan, who was like the 5th best quarterback coming out. They enrolled in
So
January.
who's the
as well.
prediction? What's the prediction? Who starts this year?
Impossible. Oh, I think Howard this year.
Yeah, Howard probably.
But I think the real discussion here
is Aaron Nolan or Sayant or Ken Holtz.
Right. So
let me-
who knows?
So let me give you this, man. I want to talk about this because I would like to see Ohio State be one of the first programs that can combat the transfer portal. So you got a number one quarterback, you got a transfer that's a senior. So obviously, if you really want to do it right, you would like to shirk those first two dudes.
Probably, yeah.
Nolan
most likely
and
will.
Sayant, and play Howard.
Yeah.
Get him up out of here. Then have a quarterback competition between them two, and then the other dude would transfer out. The problem is now in NIL and transfer portal, Howard will play. Saying will be like, I ain't trying to be sitting around here. I ain't waiting a year. And Nolan will be like, I don't even know if I want to compete.
I don't know, because
that's not
they
the
knew
case.
the playing field when they decided to come here.
Yeah.
Now, it changes with quarterback. Now, let me ask you this. Why don't y'all have signing bonuses? Like, if you tell me in NIL, I say, yo, you want to come here? I'm going to give you another $100,000 just to stay if you come back next year. Because I want to head that off immediately. I want you to be in the system. I'm going to tell the young two.
Well, I mean, that's something that can be done now. Coming out as a high school recruit, that's illegal.
So I can't say you get if you stay this amount of time.
That's illegal.
So you can't get that off.
Why is
How's that illegal?
A signing bonus to come here. That's illegal.
No, a signing bonus to stay.
So you already on the roster.
He's on the roster.
Oh
right?
yeah, that's different.
So
that's different.
So they can pay him $200. They say, listen,
Yeah.
if you here, I gave you $100. I give you $250 to stay the next year.
Oh yeah.
That's the new
It's
way.
not illegal. It's just against the rules.
No. That's legal. I thought he was saying a high
But
school.
even what
kid.
you're saying is not illegal. It's not against the law. It's
Yeah,
against
but-
the rules.
but it's-
Oh, let me see that camera,
Yeah.
Steve. Let me see. Hold on. Wait a minute. Ohio State does not do that.
Titus,
We
can
do
I ask
not.
a dumb question?
We don't give signing bonuses to high school players. That's where we
Can
don't.
I ask a dumb
So
question?
let's get that solidified right now.
We got that solidified.
Thank
Titus,
you.
but I have questions. You can offer an NIL deal to an incoming freshman.
Yeah.
So what's the
So
difference?
how is it different if it's worded as a bonus?
Well,
I don't understand that.
Me either.
Oh.
But I literally.
No, but it's not a dumb
it's funny.
question.
It's funny because I just had this conversation about 48 hours
it is
ago.
it is against
You
NCAA.
cannot do that.
Okay,
So-
well that's interesting.
so-
Okay.
Just call it something else.
So, like I said, Ohio State, we don't do signing.
So it's not the Wild Wild West.
What?
It's just the Wild West.
Yeah,
I don't know
it
what's
is.
There are
going
some
out there.
rules.
I can't speak for everybody
How
else.
good
in
is this
NCAA.
running back, by the
Ohio
way?
State, we don't
Really
do
good.
that.
The Ole Miss guy?
Yeah.
Or Mississippi State?
He was Ole Miss. He led the SEC in rushing touchdowns as a true freshman 2 years ago.
Really
I think
good.
was second in the SEC. He has a ton of carries. Now, we talk about running backs, the carries. He ran the ball a ton as a freshman and sophomore, but he was the number one rated running back in the transfer portal. He's a two-time All-SEC player.
Yeah.
He comes with a very, very decorated pedigree and resume. from his
He's
time
already
in the
done it
SEC.
against great defenses.
Like, is he going to be a fairly high draft pick next year? Or
He's a running back. They don't get paid.
no, I mean, in terms of where running backs go.
You get
Like,
a good internship.
is he a second-round pick or is he a sixth-round pick?
Well, it
Yeah.
depends on
Yeah.
what he does next year.
All right.
I think
And
there's too much.
Henderson is back. He ain't gonna get all them carries.
No, they'll be splitting carries, and that's
will be.
fine because last year with the injuries that the Buckeyes have,
I will say this, Tyvis. This class is more suited to what Ohio State wants to do. You got a running quarterback. He's 6'5", 240. You can now incorporate all the rest of the stuff. You can go back to some Braxton Miller, J.T. Barrett, different type stuff. Even Terrell Pryor. Run the quarterback power, all those things. You get your running backs. You got two of them, a couple of them now. You'll be able to run more traditional stuff. And you're not going to have the they got receivers, but they don't have the names.
they
coming
got
back.
one coming in.
They got one
They
coming
got
in.
the number one, and I watched him
Jeremiah
in the
Smith.
All-America game. And
Unreal.
It's rarely that you see someone separate in that game because they're playing against all elite players.
That's what everybody say. They said
This kid, I watched the whole
They
game.
said Julio
don't
Jones
you
and
tell me.
AJ
Kid
Green.
is
That's
special.
what they said.
The Buckeye Shrine, the Buckeye cult is bigger than G. Bush's cult.
Oh, yeah.
That Buckeye cult is huge. They will
huge.
tell you, listen, I heard some people telling me, I don't want to say it, it's kind of blasphemous, but Marvin Harrison, Maserati Marv is great, but this new receiver we got coming in, I said, don't you do that.
Tyvis, did you
Don't
see the
you do
All-American
that.
game?
I watched him
I
score a
watched the game.
touchdown.
Don't-
I watched him consistently getting separation. He made unbelievable athletic plays.
he better than Gary
Terrific catch. Yes.
They say he's good.
Yeah,
listen,
coming in.
This is
yes.
so listen.
He's the number one rated
So
recruit.
let me tell you this, because I love
the Buckeye
I just said this to somebody.
I love the Buckeye call.
Listen, this is the problem with today's.
rated.
This is the problem with today's society. We often quick to crown people before we
That's
see
fair.
things.
Oh,
And
God, yes.
I
That is fair.
ain't. I'm.
You're not crowning there.
I gotta see.
want to
I gotta see it on
Crown is
Saturday.
You know what?
I was
What
talking
about
to you.
the-
That's who I was
I'm
talking.
glad you said that,
I ain't.
because-
We'll see what he is. I'm not gonna
And
say nothing.
that's fair. And I typically look with a squinted eye at recruiting ranks and all of that nonsense.
this
You're
kid's
rating
name?
17-year-old kids. That's kind of
Yeah.
sick. All of that being said,
It is.
I just don't like it.
Disturbing.
Hell, half the men don't even have half the boys don't even have their man body yet. So, but here's what I will say to that. What I do place a lot of credence in are my eyes. And I don't always, I don't want to see high
Jeremiah
school
Smith.
tape. I don't want to see high school tape, and here's why. I've seen high school tape from a kid from Idaho playing 7-on-7.
Yeah, right.
Like, that does nothing for
Right,
me.
playing against a
I
bunch of
need to see
schlubs.
you against elite competition.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's why I watch that game with such great interest. Every year, I'm fascinated in that game. I watch that game, and from the very first play of the game, because I was looking at him most of the time,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, a lot of what I read on this kid is now has more credence with me because I'm seeing it with my own eyes. I can't remember the school that the kid's going to. There was a DB that was guarding him that I think oddly committed to Syracuse, but it was
Oh,
Syracuse
yeah, I think I do
over
remember
Georgia.
that. Yeah,
And, you know, like,
I
and I'm
did.
like, this kid, what the hell is this kid doing?
I did see that.
That kid was on him, and Smith was chewing him up. And this was like one of the top-rated DBs in the country.
I got to see it on Saturday.
All right.
I
I
don't
still
do
wanna
I
see
don't
it
do
on
that
Saturday,
anymore.
too.
So he got the bag. So he got the bag though. Okay. The Smith kid.
I'm not going to.
By the way,
I'm not
he
going to
got
talk
paid.
about off the record.
we
We'll
just got
talk about
breaking
it.
news.
No, he got paid.
Rich Rod is going back to coach Michigan,
I wish.
and Michigan got a big punter out of the portal. So congratulations, Steve. Your 15 minutes of fame is over. You cheated your way to your national
I
championship.
call it 15 minutes of shame.
Jeez.
And now you cheated your way to the championship, and now Michigan's irrelevant again.
It kind of feels that way.
Rich
Right.
Rodriguez is going back.
No, I'm kidding. But,
That was a joke.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
but Michigan is irrelevant again.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. This was, I think within the week we're going to hear that Jim Harbaugh is taking an NFL job.
Yep.
Some say it's going to be the Chargers, but there
Yep.
are others that say there are some big names. Mike Vrabel is one of them attached to that
Yep.
job right
I
now.
heard Justin Herbert might be sleeping over at Harbaugh's house.
He did invite a kicker.
You know?
That had a sleepover with a kicker.
Yep.
That he stole away from
Connor
Penn State,
Stallions just got hired by the Chargers.
Hey,
Is it coincidence? I don't know.
Hey, that's unacceptable. No.
No, the
sleepovers.
real question here, because we got to move on, but the real question here is it this year? Does he have to win the national championship? I
He
will
has to
say
beat Michigan. Has to.
That's
100%.
That's a given because the game's at home. I just
Yeah.
expect us to win when it's in Columbus. I expect us to lose when it's Ann Arbor. It's a rivalry. That's the way they work. They absolutely have to beat Michigan. Michigan's going to be down.
Yeah, no
They're going to
doubt.
have a new coach. They're
Right.
not going to be, they're not going to know all the plays that are going to be called. They are definitely on the decline. But to say they have to win a national championship, they're also saying in Georgia right now, we have to win it this year.
Yeah, I mean,
They're
I don't know.
saying in
You
other
think they got to win a
schools-
championship, or what's the have to for Ryan Day?
Oh, he has to beat the team up north.
I think he has to make it to the Final
He
Four
got to
this year.
beat the team up north, and he
get
got
to
to
the
beat,
Final Four.
and he got to win the Big Ten championship. Has to.
That's a given.
Has to.
And he has to make it to the Final Four.
Final Four,
If they
yeah.
stub their toe and lose to Penn State, let's say, it's also over for Ryan Day.
Yeah,
He's got to run the table, which is
Yeah.
that's a high bar, but it's Columbus.
they lose to Georgia in the national semifinals in a
They're
hard-fought
slack.
game. Okay,
Which is exactly
as long
what
as
happened
he
last
beat
year.
Michigan and got there. But
You
it
know.
can't be what it was this year. That
No.
can't happen.
Well,
again.
and by the way, we say it can't be what it was this year. Just to remind everybody what it was this year. The last 2 years, they've lost to the eventual national champion. They lost on a missed field goal at the end of the game to the eventual champion, Georgia. They played Michigan closer than anyone else and scored more points against Michigan than anyone else.
Alabama had the chance to beat Michigan at the end of the game.
They didn't do it.
I know, but it was just as close.
There were many plays in that Ohio State game that if
I'm
they
just
flip
saying,
one
in the
play,
end,
Ohio
you win
State
or you
wins.
lose. That's all that matters.
I get that, but
Yeah.
if you say it can't be this year, they lost to the eventual national champ this
But
year.
you just said it.
at
If they
their
lose
place.
to Michigan, he's done.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
But what can't happen this year is they've got to make it to the Final Four this year.
Yeah.
There's now going to be 12 teams.
Right.
Ryan Day is going to have to win 2 big games.
That's right.
Likely 2 unless he's in the top 4. But
Yeah.
he needs to do that.
That's right.
For
And they
me.
should be in the top 4.
They better.